Hi, this is Sheila Stromberg. I am going to be giving you guys a quick tutorial today on how to make broomstick lace using arm knitting. So I'm really excited about this. I'm going to be using a combination of your arms and knitting needles. So the needle size I'm using is size US 19 and it's 15 millimeters. And then the yarn I'm going to be using is it's from Michael's Arts and Crafts. It's called Loops and Thread T-shirt. And I've been wanting to try out t-shirt yarn for a while, and this stuff is really affordable. So it's a great way to get started on it. Okay, so the pattern stitches that we're going to be using is multiples of 5. So in the pattern I give that you should cast on 25 stitches. You can really vary the width of your scarf. If you want it wider, just cast on more in multiples of 5. And then same for skinnier, obviously. So I'm using also a circular needle for this project, and I will show you why in just a minute. So, okay, let's get started. So I'm going to actually just cast on 10 stitches for this tutorial, just because I'm not having enough time for all that. My phone will run out of recording. So anyways, I'm just going to cast on 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we start the cast on onto our needles. So the next row we are going to use arm knitting. So we're going to just knit right off of the needle with your hand, just like you would with another needle. So, and you just put the loop right onto your arm. You just continue down the row. So you don't want to like pull the stitch really tight on your wrist, or it's going to be hard to do the next row. So just try to leave them kind of looser like that. I mean, you don't want them like crazy. You want them to be, you know, close to the same size. Let's just not make them super duper tight. And this first row is a little harder to knit into with your hand than the next rows will be a little tighter. Okay, so there we're at the end of the row. Okay, so you should have all of your stitches on your right wrist now. And so you can see that it's you know, got enough room that I could be able to get my wrist out of here. So this next part is kind of cool. So you're just going to take your needle in your right hand, and then I just pull on the body of the work. It gets easier the more fabric that you knit, and then just slide it right off. And that's why we don't want it super tight, or you're not going to be able to do that. And then your stitches slide to the other end of the needle, and that's why I like to have a circular needle for this rather than straight needles. I suppose you could do it with double pointed needles, although you might not have enough room. Okay, so we get the work all the way up to this side of the needle. So now the stitch count is multiples of 5. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we're going to knit 5 together. So we go in knitwise. And then you don't want to pull this stitch super tight, or else it's going to just bunch kind of weird on the end. So you can see I've left it a little bit loose. Sorry, my cable's like going all over the place. And so then we're going to knit into the back of that. So we go front, back, and then front one last time. And that's going to restore our stitch count to 5, which is what we want. Okay, so you can see that's the first little part of the broomstick lace. So then we're going to slide the rest of these up here. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go in knitwise. We're going to knit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now our stitch count should be back to 10. So then you can see, so the more multiples of 5 that you cast on, obviously the wider it'll be. And I really probably wouldn't recommend going less than 15 stitches because 2 by itself looks a little strange. Okay, so then we turn our row, and then we're going to just knit into it with our arm again. So we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we'll grab our needle, slide these off, bring them up to the other side of the needle. So sometimes your loops can get a little bit like out of order. So just make sure that they're all from the same panel broomstick lace. So you can see after you get the pattern established, the lace kind of like wants to show you where the divide between the stitches is. So you don't have to count them on every row. You just go to the end of the broomstick lace. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slide that off. Slide these up, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see as you kind of work it, it works up so fast. I did a whole scarf last night in like, I think less than an hour. So these are really great little Christmas presents, and the yarn's pretty cheap, and you know, it's a good fun little project. So yeah, so when you get to the end and you're ready to bind off, you're going to do it after a regular row on the needles, not after a row on your arm. So that's going to be row 2 of the pattern. So then you'll just bind off like normal. Not backwards loop. What is this bind off called? So you just bind off normally. Okay, and then you cut the yarn, pull the last loop through. So when you get to the end, if you want to make it into a cowl, you can fold it in half, and then using the long yarn tail that you left, you just stitch it over through there. And I kind of like having like a visible seam on this. I think it looks kind of neat. Or you can twist it if you want for your cowl. Have a little bit of twist in it. So you can work it to whatever length that you want. In the pattern, I worked mine to 57 inches, but I think that you need 2 balls of yarn for that long. So you can do it shorter if you want. And then one other thing, if you want to vary the look of it, so you see all of these are like going in the same way because we went in all of those stitches knit-wise. You could go purl-wise, and that'll flip the way the broomstick lace is looking, so you can kind of have them snaking back and forth, or have them all the same way, which is what I wrote up in the pattern. So yeah, you can kind of do a lot with it to make it look different. And any kind of thicker gauge yarn will work. The t-shirt yarn I think is really fun, but you don't have to use that. Okay, so yeah, check it out in my Ravelry store. My username on there is Sheila Toy, and you can check out my other videos and other patterns. Okay, thanks. Bye.